This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. SDC ordered to pay almost $60 million in rental arrears. The Social Development Commission has been ordered by the court to pay almost $60 million in rental arrears dating back to 2002. The SDC went to court to challenge the amount owed for renting the Jam World Entertainment Center in Portmore, St. Catherine, but was unsuccessful in its appeal, which was decided in December 2019. The revelation was made during Tuesday's sitting of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, which wrapped up its review of the first supplementary estimates of expenditure. Dr. Dwayne Vernon, Executive Director of the SDC, told the committee that an agreement has been reached for the $59.7 million owed to be paid over 8 years. Dr. Vernon, who was appointed after the legal dispute started, said he would investigate to ascertain why the SDC racked up rental arrears.
A claim was made against SDC by Implementation Limited in 2002, had to do with rental of a property. So the judgment was officially awarded in January 31, 2013 to Implementation Limited, of course, against the SDC. We appealed in 2013. Hearing took place in 2016, but the judgment was reserved, of course, till 2016, and the Court of Appeal decision was December 2019.
125 homeless people in Kingston vaccinated. Mayor of Kingston, Senator Councillor Delroy Williams, is reporting that the vaccination of homeless people in the corporate area has moved to 125 following an exercise on the weekend. He said that 60 people were inoculated on World Homeless Day on Sunday at the Marie Atkins shelter in downtown Kingston. They added to the 65 who were vaccinated in August. The mayor was speaking at the monthly meeting of the Kingston and the St. Andrew Municipal Corporation on Tuesday at the Jamaica Conference Center. He said that the vaccination exercise organized by the Poor Relief Department in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness was a good effort. Williams encouraged those who were previously vaccinated to turn up for the second dose on Thursday, October 14. Giving an update on the adult transitional facility being constructed on King Street, Williams reported that the first phase of the project is 95% complete, and the corporation is looking to begin operating the center by the end of the year. He noted that some additional features will be added to the facility during the second phase. The facility, being built at a cost of nearly $140 million, will offer temporary care to members of the homeless population in Kingston and St. Andrew. It is also intended to facilitate their reintegration into the society through treatment and other interventions. Williams said that the corporation is also spearheading a project to upgrade the St. William Grant Park, noting that Marvelly Park will also receive a facelift. The municipality has to ensure that its facilities, parks are maintained and upgraded to serve our residents, he said. NCB mandates that all staff get COVID vaccination. NCB Financial Group has become the latest entity to mandate that all its employees be vaccinated against COVID-19. In a letter to staff members, NCB stated that all its employees, whether permanent, temporary, or on contract, who are either working in office or remotely, will be required to provide their vaccination cards by October 31 as a proof that they are either partially or fully vaccinated. According to NCB, employees who have not received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine by October 31 will be required to submit a legitimate negative PCR COVID-19 test result to be done at the employee's expense by the Wednesday of each week beginning November 3. The financial group said the decision comes in the wake of the continuing rise in COVID-19 cases and the country's increasing virus death toll. As an employer, we have an overriding duty to care to establish and maintain a safe work environment, to protect the safety and health of employees, and to provide a reasonable space for our customers to conduct business. As individuals, we have an obligation to take all reasonable steps to protect ourselves, our co-workers, and customers, the letter read. The company noted that since the start of the pandemic, it has had almost 200 confirmed cases since, and we have experienced the heartbreak and extreme pain coming from deaths of 3 members of our NCB family. Vaccines have emerged as the most effective measure to minimize transmission of the disease, prevent deaths, and minimize hospitalizations from serious COVID-19 related illness, the letter added. NCB said that employees who have not received the first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine by October 31 and are unable to produce a current PCR test result will be unable to attend work and will be required to take the days on which they are absent as unpaid leave. The employee may, with the agreement of his or her manager, use any vacation days that he or she has to his or her credit in lieu of unpaid days, it said. If an employee believes that he or she will not be able to be vaccinated due to underlying medical issues, he or she will be required to submit a medical certificate before October 31 for review by NCB's assigned medical practitioner, the company said. Sexual harassment bill approved. Parliament has given final clearance to the sexual harassment bill. The House of Representatives on Tuesday afternoon approved the 23 amendments made by the Senate on October 1. Gender Minister Olivia Babsy-Grange noted that
these amendments were circulated last Wednesday, October 6, and they have also been incorporated in the bill tabled. Madam Speaker, some amendments were editorial in nature, while others were quite substantial. The more substantial of the amendments are those that I seek to address at this time. These amendments have further contributed to the strengthening of the bill.
The proposed law addresses concerns about sexual harassment that is employment-related, occur in institutions, or arise in the landlord and the tenant relationship. It will require institutions to have in place a sexual harassment policy statement within 12 months of the law taking effect. In addition, an employer or a person in charge of an institution will be required to keep and maintain a confidential register of sexual harassment cases. Alleged member of One Order gang arrested. As the St. Catherine North Police continue the crackdown on gang activity in Spanish Town, a man said to be a member of the One Order gang has been arrested and charged. Investigators say the man was taken into custody on Sunday after he was allegedly found with an illegal firearm. He was held during an operation on Williams Lane off Old Harbor Road in Spanish Town. Investigators say the man was recently released from prison. Auditor General proposes police probe into $124 million loss at Education Ministry. Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis has suggested that Education Minister Favour Williams call in the police or a designated anti-corruption body to investigate the loss of $124 million of government funds at the Joint Committee on Tertiary Education. At the same time, the Auditor General has recommended that the Finance Ministry institute surcharge action against 2 senior officers, including the Acting Permanent Secretary, Dr. Grace McLean, on the basis that both officers failed in their fiduciary duty. The recommendations are contained in a report tabled on the Parliament yesterday. The Auditor General said the senior technocrats failed to ensure that government funds were appropriated in keeping with the requisite law and established guidelines, and that arrangements were put in place to safeguard government resources. Monroe Ellis reported that McLean permitted the transfer of $11 million to the Dr. Cecil Cornwall-chaired JCTE after the body became a private entity. The JCTE was the entity that shocked officials last year after it became private in February 2019, blocking the Auditor General's investigation into use of government funds connected to the Caribbean Maritime University scandal. In July 2020, McLean told PAC members that she first became aware that the JCTE had become a private entity when the Auditor General requested information from the entity and the documents could not be provided. McLean said she wrote letters to no avail, asking for the documents to be submitted to the Auditor General. The acting permanent secretary said after discovering that the JCTE had become a private entity, she curtailed the arrangement that was in place with the ministry. McLean said she wrote to the chairman on June 8, 2020, stating that the ministry could no longer continue the previous arrangement now that it had changed its status to a private entity. In the special audit report tabled in Parliament yesterday afternoon, Monroe Ellis stated that the arguments of Cornwall, the permanent secretary, and McLean were unacceptable. She charged that Cornwall did not have the authority to privatize a government entity. The chairman's private entity is separate and apart from the JCTE Special Advisory Committee established by the Ministry of Education. It should be noted that the acting permanent secretary permitted the transfer of $11 million to JCTE after her failed attempt to obtain the accounting records from the chairman, despite knowing that the chairman laid claims that he is the owner of the company and refused to comply with the Auditor General's request for information. Monroe Ellis said that her department submitted a draft report on the JCTE to the Ministry of Education on June 22, 2021. She said the ministry responded to the draft on June 29, 2021. The Auditor General said that McLean did not provide any additional supporting documentation as part of that response. However, McLean submitted additional supporting documents on October 6, 2021, after being provided with a copy of the report that was scheduled to be sent to Parliament. The documents submitted included payment vouchers prepared by the ministry supported by invoices prepared by JCTE. I advise the acting permanent secretary that the information is insufficient as the documents provided do not represent suppliers' invoices which are required to determine how the funds were utilized. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.